All right, so I think we're live. I'm going to double check here that I can hear myself. Let me know if you all can hear me. Let's see. Make sure we're good here. Cool. All right. Oh, let me close this guy out. Great. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome back to Woodland Pools and to our first live stream in, man, probably like 6 months. It's been a long time. We switched over to doing a lot more tutorials and how-to videos and covering new projects. And we haven't done a live stream in a really long time. So let's go ahead and let some folks come in here. And yeah, while you're joining, let us know where you're joining from and any questions that you have. For those that are new, the way that we normally do this is we kind of have just like a loose agenda of like a couple things that we're going to chat about. But otherwise, a lot of it's driven by the questions that you all bring and the questions that you all have. So let us know any questions that you have about either Cardano, blockchain in general, any specific projects, and then we'll kind of go from there. So we'll go ahead and let some folks join. I'll say hello to some people here as we've got them joining. Hey, Nick's joining from Pennsylvania. It's good to see you again. It's been a long time. Yeah, it's kind of nice doing these again. It's been a minute. Sweet, yeah. So just come on in, and then we'll go from there. In the meantime, while people are joining, we've got a few things up here that we can always dig into and look through. Some stuff that I want to talk about, and for those of you watching on the replay, we can go through the standard sort of blockchain explorers here. We've got ADA pools, pool.pm, and pool tool pulled up. Also thought it would be fun to chat a little bit about Book Token. Really big fan of that project. And what I thought we would do is, for those that stick around, and maybe an incentive for those to ask some good questions, what we'll do is for Book Token here, if we go to their bookstore, they've recently released Dracula. So Frankenstein and Dracula have already come out. And what we'll do is for whoever has, let's say whoever's got the best question, we'll go ahead and send out a copy of Dracula. I'm pretty sure, yeah, this is sold out the day that it came out. So we'll talk about Book Token, and then for whoever has the best question today, you'll get a free copy of Dracula from Book Token. This will be our first giveaway that we've done on a live stream. So it should be good. Sweet. All right, fantastic. Oh, this is fun. Yeah, let us know where you're joining from. So Eggman's joining from Sweden, and Gary Golden joining from Brooklyn. Fantastic. Cool. How's everybody's weekend going? All right. Sweet. We're at Mountain Time. We're at 9:05. Let's wait a couple more minutes. We'll let folks come in, and then we'll go from there. Sweet. Okay. What we could do too, also while we're waiting, let's show off pool.pm a little bit for those that aren't familiar. So let me know how many guys here use pool.pm. It's a pretty great site. If you come to this is going to take us to Smog's page. So actually it's worth saying. So the Smog pool here are the ones who put on pool.pm. Really, really great site. If you click on this icon here, you can see in real time all the blocks flying by being minted by different pools and all the transactions going on. On the right-hand side, we'll see changes in delegation. You can search for your preferred stake pool. We can find ASPEN, that's our stake pool, and come back this way. And then you can also link it to your wallet, and you can also see all the NFTs that are flying through the network too. Pretty cool stuff. All right, Nick says, hello from Michigan. Oh, thanks, Nick. It's great to see you again. Yeah, we should probably do these more often. It's been a very long time since we've done a live stream. So yeah, let us know any questions that you have, anything that you've been curious about, anything that you have seen in the news that you want to chat about. And then we will go from there. Cool. How many folks here are familiar with Book Token, by the way? We put a video out on this. Actually, you know what I should do? Is I should probably... There we go. so we can take a look at this. Because usually I end up having to like link a bunch of these, so let me do this. Cool, yeah, so we did a video a couple of weeks ago, actually last week, on Book Token. Really, really cool project. We'll be giving out a Book Token copy of Dracula here at the end of the stream to whoever has the best question of the day. Really neat project. And so that's the thing too, is that like, and let me know which projects you guys are interested in. There's a few, my top ones that I've been following are Book Token, NMaker, World Mobile. I know I'm missing one. Oh, and Ada Handle are sort of my favorite ones because they have like immediate utility. Do you guys know of any other really good, any good functional projects like that? You know, there's a lot of art NFTs and a lot of like DeFi and stuff going on, but I've been really trying to find and dig into the projects that, the way that I think of it is projects that solve a problem that you can explain in one sentence, right, to anybody, right? So those are the kind of projects that I've been trying to like find and make sure that we cover on the channel. If there's any that are off my radar, let me know. Okay, so Nix says, there's Spartan. And okay, so explain what happened with testnet and why Cardano is not broken. Okay, great question. I knew somebody was going to ask this, so I figured also it was a good week to get into to do another live stream so we can kind of dispel some of these rumors that are going on. And how's my video quality, by the way? It's kind of hard to tell in the preview. Let me know if the sound and the video are okay, because I obviously don't have our normal setup here. So let me know how it's going. But yeah, so good question. Let's dig into that. So basically what I would say is, I'll start by saying it's important that we understand a few things. One, we can start with sort of this tweet here. Okay, so one, there is nothing wrong with the Cardano mainnet. The mainnet is running fine, and it has been for over 2 years now. We've been minting blocks in the Shelley era. Yeah, for over 2 years. Wait, Shelley has been started in 2020, right? Yeah, so we've been doing it for about 2 years now with no downtime. This was only a concern of what was happening on the testnet, and even then it was specifically a concern about amount of time to test. And so I think this is probably a good opportunity where we can talk about kind of where the breakdown was here in the communication. You know, there was at no point was it that the mainnet itself was in jeopardy. I think that at the highest level, to summarize, I think that this is a case of we have a lot of passionate and smart humans that are all working together in a decentralized way, right? They're working for the same thing, but aren't necessarily in the same room. And then I think sometimes when you have that many passionate people working on the same thing, sometimes even the most intelligent people, that passion can kind of get in the way of things. So basically, the way that this played out, and I was kind of following this in real time, but the way that this played out and what really actually occurred is this. Okay, cool. And actually, yes, so here's pseudonym says, very much not a dev, but isn't the purpose of testnet to test? Why is everyone freaking out? Hey, Stacy, good to see you. Yeah, it's been a while since we've done a live stream, but okay, yeah. So let's continue on this train of thought. So thanks guys for bringing this up. The reason I think why people are freaking out broadly, I think, is because of some of the choice of words that were used to describe the situation. And then when those are taken out of context and they were put into some of these headlines, then that's where we saw a lot of broader freaking out. But the source, I think, of the reason why that language was used and what happened, I think, in my opinion at least, is because of just pent up human frustrations. So let's kind of start. We'll walk through what happened here. I think it'll be really clear to everybody exactly what played out, and then in terms of where we are and what can sort of happen next. So let's just kind of sort of talk through the timeline. So this tweet was deleted. It was a tweet by Charles that then he deleted afterwards, and you'll see why in a second. There was nothing nefarious there. But Charles basically in this tweet, and I'm paraphrasing here. If anybody has the original, please feel free to let me know. But Charles in this tweet basically said, okay, guys, 135.3 is ready. Go ahead and start upgrading on mainnet, and let's get to that, was it 75% threshold? So I guess some background here. For those of you who remember from our weekly report that we did a few weeks ago. Let me pull that up here. This one here, the one that we did 3 weeks ago, we were talking about that one of the metrics that they were waiting on IOG to kick off the hard fork for Vasel was to have 75% of SPOs, stake pool operators, running 135.3 on the mainnet. So they're waiting for the community to have all this and go live before they submit the hard fork onto the mainnet, and then that would be the era that we go into with Vasel when you have enough of the nodes on the network running the appropriate node of Cardano node to be able to support it. So 135.3 was tagged and released to the public, and it was on GitHub and ready to go. So then Charles tweeted out, hey, 135.3 is ready. Go ahead and start upgrading on the mainnet. Now, this got Andrew worried because of the fact that that tweet went out pretty much as soon as 135.3 was tagged and released. And the way that this stuff normally goes is that it would be tagged and released, then sent to testnet, then sits on testnet for a while so that the stake pool operators that are running testnet stake pools can run their sequence of tests and also get some confidence in the fact that everything is still working the way that it should. And what's important to keep in mind about this is that working the way that it should implies not just that the node is working the way that it should, but that the whole network sort of accepts that node, and that in a multi-node environment, you got to remember that if we go to like, where can we see this best? Let me think. I think it would be on ADA pool. Oh, yeah, ADA pools. If we go to the blockchain here, actually it might be in pool tool. Let me see. I'll go to a little sidebar. We can see on one of these, network health, I think it is. Now, of course, this is self-reported. Yeah, okay, cool, perfect. That's exactly what I wanted to show. Okay, so we can see here, for example, that 61% of stake pool operators are still running 134.1, and now we're up to 25% running 135.3. But if you look at all these other versions. There's some that are still running 133, 132, 135.0, right? So this is what a real live mainnet actually looks like, right? You have a multi-node environment where we have up to 3,000 stake pools now, and they're going to run different versions of the node. You're not going to just have everybody flipping a switch and running the same node version at the same time. So one of the things that the developers that are on the testnet like to see is the opportunity to do testing in this multi-node environment in the testnet and see how that's kind of resolved. So since Charles's initial tweet was go ahead and upgrade now, as soon as this was tagged, Andrew got worried and said, hey, let's not upgrade right now, right? That we still need to do some additional testing. And so, yeah, so he went into some detail here. But then, Charles sort of corrected himself and said, okay, let's try this again. If you're a stake pool operator, then please start the upgrade path. It's heavily tested, so let's start on preview, then devnet, then pre-production, then mainnet. And then he even corrected himself. Andrew said thanks, and he said, thanks for the clarity. I should be more careful with the tweets. But this, in my opinion, was sort of the snowball that started rolling down the hill, because even though he made this correction here, when Charles sent this initial tweet and he was kind of like, let's all upgrade, we can see already, right? A bunch of folks went ahead and did that. There are like 3,000 stake pools. 25% of them have already upgraded to 135.3, right? So we do some quick math. That's what that would be like 600, like 900 stake pools. It would suggest, at least for the ones that are opting in, roughly 900 have already upgraded, right? I think this is just based on only whoever sends in, so I'm not sure what the total number will count, but you get the idea. So in any case, so he said that Andrew, who, by the way, if you don't know Andrew Westberg, Andrew's one of the most respected developers in the community. He knows Cardano inside and out. A lot of us other stake pool operators that use tools like guild tools to run our pools, CNCLI to know the leader logs and know when your pool is going to be getting blocks assigned. Andrew has worked on both of those things and knows Cardano inside and out very well. So his concern was, hey, let's just have some time to be able to test this before we actually go over. So, hey, let's hold off. Similarly, along those lines, I think with that same sense of frustration, and worry, Adam pointed out and said, hey, let's point out, like, when we think about sort of like, hey, let's all upgrade immediately, it's important that we all keep in mind that, and this is where that wording came from. And by the way, let's look at the actual source here, right? You've seen some headlines about Cardano has catastrophic bugs or Cardano is catastrophically broken. This was the source of that initially. is that Adam, who again is also another very well-respected community member, said, hey, it's important just to point out that the testnet is catastrophically broken to a bug that was found in 135.2. This was the version that was previously said was tested and ready, and it was only just discovered. So what he was getting at was that, and this is actually true, what happened was there was a few folks, and I wonder if he tagged them here. If not, if you're curious, there's this other tweet here that I can share where the @ada pool goes into what was found that Adam is referring to here. But what happened here was, in previous versions, 135.1 and 135.2, IOG was like, hey, these are ready. Go through your testing processes and feel free to upgrade on mainnet if you would like. And that's what we saw. Some folks have done that on Pool Tool. What happened with 135.2 was that there was a chain length or leader, I forget the exact phrasing, but it was either chain length or like chain last block leader bug, where basically, I forget which direction it was. It was either the 134 branches weren't recognizing 135 as appropriate leaders, or 135 wasn't recognizing 134. I think it was the former, not the latter. But in any case, what was happening was, in that multi-node environment, if one of the nodes was minting blocks, let's see, am I missing any spam here? Okay, cool. All right, good. Just wanted to, it's just me here, so I gotta make sure to make sure that we're going through it here. Okay, so what was happening was, in the multi-node environment there, 135.2 was out there, and then the network was not recognizing blocks made by 135.2 nodes, which is important, right? Because your pool gets assigned a block, it goes ahead and mints that block and propagates it to the network, but then the network was discarding it because the versions weren't communicating that properly. So that was happening on mainnet. So Adam's concern here was saying that, hey, that already happened on mainnet on a version that we thought was okay. Let's take some time and work this through on testnet. And that right now, testnet is broken because of the same kind of like bug. So that's where that wording came from, and that's why everybody kind of freaked out. But I think that at the source of this whole thing, the issue was what Andrew kind of says here, that his thoughts are that the way that we need to do this is that in a peer review process, which Cardano always talks about, we write the paper, there's an internal review, and then there's some external review where they go to a conference and they present it. What Andrew was asking for was, the software is written by IOG, it's reviewed by IOG, but then it needs some time for the community to do that external review. So this is what they were asking for and what they were worrying about. I know that Charles was frustrated because people were making a lot of videos, and Andrew and Adam both went on the CCV channel and were talking about this. And the thumbnails were, pretty clickbaity, right? They went on and they chatted about the issues here. Then Charles put out a couple of videos talking about why he thinks it's ready and there shouldn't be an issue. And then this morning, he put out this long thread about his frustrations and about how these kinds of like clickbait videos can harm the ecosystem as a whole. But I think pulling all of this back, really, like I said, at the end of the day, this whole snowball started because Charles was just like, hey, upgrade immediately. And then some very well-informed developers tried to make sure that they put out with an equal sort of intensity to get some attention, like, hey, we are not ready to upgrade yet. Do not upgrade yet. We need to hold off and make sure we have plenty of time for testing. So sort of as a retrospective, I think that, and this is some of the takeaways, and Charles actually in this thread apologized for his own part in being able to handle this whole thing better, and how there are going to be new governance mechanisms for releases, and how SPOs are going to be taken more formally into this process. But at the end of the day, Charles was excited and he said, let's upgrade. These two guys kind of freaked out and said, hey, hold on, we shouldn't do this just yet. And in order to get the visibility out there, probably use some words that they shouldn't have. That upset a lot of people. It made it to the broader market. And that is how we basically got to where we are. So yeah, so the mainnet is fine. The testnet right now, the original testnet is broken, but that's what testnets are for. And the code is making its way through testing, and then we'll go from there. I think that Charles should probably be more cautious about saying, hey, go ahead and upgrade if not all of the proper boxes are checked, including community testing. I think community developers are now learning that their voices have a lot more of a resonance and spread a lot further than they probably realize. They're probably, I guarantee you, Adam's probably gonna be a little more cautious with his words moving forward. But I think we got some good takeaways here in terms of that the developers feel like they need to be taken seriously, and kind of like how Andrew was spelling out here, that we need to have a formal part of the process for this external review. So there's sort of a very long answer to what was going on with the whole Vasel thing and how we got here. But I did think it's important that we talk about that early on. And I'm glad that somebody asked, because at the end of the day, you know, everything is fine. Blocks are still being minted. I mean, again, we were just looking at pool.pm, right? Blocks are still being minted. Let me do this, actually. Let's turn on my little do not disturb guy. There we go. So blocks are still being minted. The network is still running. Everything is still fine. This was just out of an abundance of caution, because we want to make sure that everything continues running fine. So that, from looking into this quite a bit over the past several days, is my understanding of the situation. If anybody else understood it or saw something differently, let me know. But that's where we're at. Heated exchange. I think a lot was learned on both sides, but everything is fine. Let's not freak out. Anyway, so that's the Vasel thing. Okay, let's see what we're doing here and how we are all holding in there. All right, so Nix says, World Mobile Token is amazing. Yes, it is. I'm a very big fan. And while the rest of you are joining, let us know where you're joining from. Say hello. It's always fun to see where people are joining from. And let us know any questions you have. We were just talking for a bit about the Vasel upgrade. But the rest of the time here, we're probably going to go for another 40 minutes or so. Let's do this. Let's say we go for another half hour. And then at the end, we're going to do the book token giveaway. We're going to give away a copy of Dracula on the book token platform. We will send it to whoever asks the best question today. Okay, so yeah, let us know where you're joining from and what questions you have. And then you might get yourself a copy of Dracula on book token into your very own wallet. So, any update on Meld's Bank Manager NFT that you're supposed to receive from the staking? I don't know too much about that. I haven't been following Meld as closely as I would like. So yeah, unfortunately, I don't know anything there. Hello from Indiana. Audio is as solid as a steak bag. Stymie, it's good to see you again, man. I haven't seen you in a while. Yeah, I gotta do these live streams more often. It's fun seeing a lot of the usual suspects come in. All right, Nix. Others just jumped on the FUD hard. They just want to, aha, it's delayed, broken, and failed. Exactly, yeah. Daniel, been watching videos for a while. Keep up the great videos. Hey, thank you. Really appreciate that. Slovenia, very, very cool. Yes, Hella Dragons. Long time from Stockton, California. Hella Dragons, haven't seen you in a while. I used to really enjoy seeing your comments on the videos. Glad to see you. This might be the first time we've been on a live stream together, so hello and welcome. Oh, my thing just jumped. Let's see here. Yep, same old story. People just spreading FUD. Yep, exactly. People like chaos, but most importantly, they need YouTube content. Yeah, so, you know, I don't know. I know. Okay. Cool. Yeah. You're welcome. Is that, yeah, exactly. That was, yeah, that was a very good question. I'm glad you asked. It was you and, well, somebody just recently asked that. Oh, yeah, and then Nix also asked the same thing. But yeah, cool. Glad that it helped. Jose from Ecuador. Bienvenido, Jose. Coming in from Los Angeles. At work on a slow day. Hey, well, Carlos, hopefully we can help you pass the day. Book token is killing it. Watching music communities. Probably about 6 projects selling music albums. Oh, yeah. So Gary, what are some of the other ones you've heard about? I know Meld is... yeah, Meld. Yeah. No, not Meld. Sorry. Noom. Noom is doing music on the blockchain. Let me know some of the other ones you've heard about. That's the only one that's on my radar right now. Carlos, good question. SPO is stake pool operator. So the whatever stake pool that you delegate to, the SPO is that pool's stake pool operator. They're the ones who run the pool. Music and books are built in community marketplaces, much more likely to grow into mainstream NFTs. Yeah, I agree. Well, and the other thing too is that, so what's interesting is I'm glad that you said that, right? Because NFTs, right, and this is a good moment to sort of talk about this. NFTs really just what they are is a non-fungible token. That's it, right? It's just the notion of, so fungibility is how indistinguishable something is, right? Like, for example, if you have 10 ADA and I have 10 ADA, and then we each send the 10 ADA to each other, those two things from the blockchain's perspective are completely identical. Your 10 ADA or my 10 ADA, we can send them both to any kind of payment service and they would accept them equally because they are identical and indiscernible from each other. So those are completely fungible. Something not fungible is the exact opposite, where it is completely unique and standalone. And so a non-fungible token, like ADA, is a fungible token. World Mobile Token is a fungible token. A non-fungible token is just a token that is unique and on its own. So when you get, for example, a copy of some art NFT from JPEG Store, that is a non-fungible token of art. But when you get, for example, a book from Book Token, that is a non-fungible token of a book. And when you do, for example, if they do NFTs with music, that'll be a non-fungible token of music. So I think that sometimes kind of people conflate, because with NFTs, the first big things to come out were artwork. People conflate the notion of NFTs being artwork, which they're not necessarily the same thing. Artwork is a category of NFTs and the first ones that got big, but we're going to see NFTs. What I'm really excited about is seeing more and more functional NFTs coming out, of which we're seeing some with Book Token now. ADA handle is another great example of a functional NFT where the handle that you have in your wallet is now the address that people can send funds to. So yeah, so a little bit of a clarifier there. I think you're on the right track, but I just wanted to clarify that subtle difference. Yes, Daniel, I remember your name. Thank you for the shout out. I appreciate it. And from Iceland, that's super cool. I've been meaning to go out there. What's the best time of year to go to Iceland? I'm guessing in the summer. Let me know. Okay, cool. All right, sweet. Let me see here. We got some good. Yeah, cool. We got some really good questions coming in. Sweet. So let's do this one here. Jose's question about how do reference UTXOs and scripts will work with upcoming Vasel hard fork. This is a little bit technical, but it's a really great question, and I'm glad that you're asking. If you guys, by the way, want, you know what I need to do? Let me do this. What I usually do is I have a copy of this that I have up so that I can like share these videos as I talk about them. So let me pull that up real quick on this other screen. Because what I'll do is, as you guys are asking questions, if we have a video that dives into it more deeply, I'll also share that. But I'm happy to talk through it. Okay, so while that's pulling up, cool. So while that's pulling up, basically, the way that the UTXO reference scripts are going to work is, think of it this way. Previously, all right, well, fine. Now it's almost up. Just give me 1 second, and I will. Which is the one here? This one, scalability. Yep, this one, scalability incoming. Okay, so this is a video that goes in a little bit more detail for you. So this is for Jose. Where's does it let me do it here? Yeah. Here is scalability video detail. Okay, cool. All right, so Jose's question is about how are reference UTXOs and reference scripts going to work? Okay, great question. So the way that UTXOs and extended UTXO works is that in order to use a UTXO, so how far back do we go? UTXO stands for unspent transaction output. So basically on Ethereum, where you have like a count model, the way that the blockchain constructs your balance is by going through like a ledger model where basically it takes all the pluses and minuses of like every wallet, and then from that, like add this minus this, add this minus this. Think about when you like log into your bank and you see your statements, then the sum and remainder of that is your balance, and that's how you got there. UTXO is more of like, think about like in your wallet. Like in your wallet, you might have like a couple of ones, maybe a 5, a 10, and a 20. And so you have, okay, a 5, a 10, and a 20, and a couple of ones. So you have $27 in your wallet, and that's just how much you have. And you don't care how you got there and all the transactions that got you there. You just know how much you're holding right now. Whereas the account model, you need sort of all of those pluses and minuses of everything to know how you got there. So that's the difference between the two. But then in UTXO, each one of those bills that you have there, those like, you know, those 5s and 1s or whatever, they live inside of what's called an unspent transaction output. And that unspent transaction output, each one of those UTXOs holds a certain amount of value in them. Yeah, and so that's sort of how those work. Now, the way that UTXOs work for value, when you're sending value from one place to another, is let's say, for example, you only just had the $20 bill in your wallet, and then you're buying something that only costs, let's say 20 ADA, and you're buying something that only costs 13 ADA. What happens is your wallet will consume that UTXO that has the 20 ADA in it, and that'll go in. Then from there, it'll make 2 new transactions, 2 new UTXOs. Actually, sorry, it'll make 1 new transaction. I want to make sure I'm saying this correctly. 1 new transaction that will contain 2 new UTXOs. One of them will be the 7 ADA that is being sent to the wallet that you're buying the thing from. That UTXO now contains 7 ADA. And then the other one will be a UTXO for the 13 ADA that's remaining that comes back to you. So you have the 7 ADA that you're paying and the 13 ADA that comes back to you as change. I may have said that backwards, but you get the idea. If something you're buying costs 7, you only have a 20. That 20 ADA UTXO gets consumed, and then what gets created are 2 new UTXOs, one for the 7 that you paid, one for the 13 that is your change that comes back to your wallet. And so now if you were to look at it on the blockchain, your wallet and the other wallet for the person that you interacted with, they now have 1 new UTXO for 7 ADA, and your wallet had a UTXO that had 20 ADA in it, that got used and went away, and now you have a UTXO for the 13 ADA in it, and then presumably since you bought something or whatever, they'll be sending you one back with whatever it is that you bought, and now you have the other UTXO of the thing that you purchased. So that's how it works for value. Previously, and so Cardano is built on what's called extended UTXO, which is to say that these unspent transaction outputs can house more than just value. They can also house smart contract scripts. And so that's how all the smart contracts run and work on Cardano, is that in these different UTXO addresses are the smart contract scripts themselves that these different dApps use. And then whenever it is that they are doing something with their dApp, they reference that UTXO script. The script is run and the logic is executed, and then whatever it is happens downstream. Currently, before Vasel, the way that this works is that for the extended UTXO that can hold these scripts, it works the exact same way as it does with value, where if a smart contract needs to utilize one of these UTXOs with the smart contract logic in it, it actually consumes it as part of the process. And then after there, whenever the logic is run through, a new UTXO is created that now houses the remaining smart contract script that then can be used by the next person, right? But the UTXO itself actually got consumed, right? So if you think about it, that can cause some issues in terms of, if you're not done correctly, it can cause issues in concurrency, especially for DeFi apps, because right now, if we do something like, for example, you know, if you've got like some kind of something that can be easily chained, I think of a good example of something that would have an easy sort of like chaining mechanism. Well, let's say you had a script that was keeping track of, I don't know, let's say you're playing like tag or something, or let's say like physically you're like running to the end of the street and you're tracking, you know, the order that people sort of like tagged the finish line, right? That, if you were doing it in some kind of a UTXO, would be pretty easy to visualize, right? Where the one wallet that gets there first calls it, consumes that UTXO, the script then creates another one and puts it out. Then the next one, person who interacts with it, can come and grab that UTXO, consume it and use it, and then put it out. And that kind of sequencing makes sense for the way that that app would run. But now if you think of something where, let's say you're using like an Oracle and you're using like external price feed data, and what you need is you have all these different consumers, they just want to know the price of a thing. They don't want to change anything. They just want to know the price of a thing. But that price is kicked off by invoking a smart contract at a certain UTXO. If you've got like these 5 different people, let's say it's 4 different people, and they're all trying to source this data from this UTXO, and then each of them needs to consume it and regenerate another one for the other person to use it, you can very quickly fall into concurrency sequencing issues. So with Vasel, what they did was you have the ability now to reference UTXOs and reference these scripts themselves. And so then what happens is that all 4 of these people can now reference that UTXO address and that script without consuming it. That's one of the huge changes that's coming in Vasel that's really, really exciting. And when Charles says that a lot of dApp developers are waiting for Vasel, these are the kind of things that they're waiting for, is to be able to have these reference scripts. It's probably one of the biggest things that's coming out in Vasel, is to be able to have these reference scripts so that multiple consumers can reference the same smart contract script at a UTXO without having to consume it and then create a new one. They can I guess I use the word consume there. They can reference and utilize that script without having to consume it. So there's a kind of a technical answer for you, but a very good question. And yeah, and that's one of the biggest things. Okay. See how we're doing on questions here. Okay, cool. All right, let's see some other questions we got here. Okay, Oblivious says, as Cardano's strength is its decentralization, do you think that normies and people coming in the crypto scene actually care about this? Do we need more tornado cash type events for people to care? Yeah, I think that to a certain degree, the decentralization aspect won't be as obvious to people as being important until they start seeing consequences of when it's not there. So to your point about the tornado cash and those kinds of things, I think that, think of it this way. You probably have friends and investors who've like heard of Solana and these other things, and and they're invested in that, and they're like, well, I don't know, like all the venture capitalists are investing in it, and they're smarter than me, so that's probably where I should invest my money. And then you start seeing things about like how the chain is constantly having to literally be unplugged and plugged back in again, because it's just run by a handful of people. You see things like Terra Luna, for example, where people are like, oh, I'm getting these great returns. But then it turns out that under the hood, there was like 3 or 4 people that had the keys to be able to kind of like make these huge financial decisions for the entire pegging of its stablecoin and stuff like that. I think that the decentralization aspect is something that is going to be appreciated more and more. As people continue to get burned, they're going to start looking for, okay, where are other places that I can go that can provide a similar value without this same risk? And actually, the whole Vasel thing that we were talking about earlier, and this whole like Vasel debacle, for lack of a better term, and let me be clear, Vasel as a release is rock solid and ready to go. The process by which we are going through the upgrade of this last node is what caused some contention with people. But I do think that it points out how decentralized Cardano is and how strong the community is. And one of the things that Charles said in this thread is exactly that. Actually, I think it might have been the first thing he said. I'd like to say a few things. First, the backbone of Cardano as a useful protocol is the SPO community. So I'll just sort of stop there. If you think about it, the way this whole thing played out, Charles sent out that initial tweet that said, hey, everybody should upgrade. And then there was a bunch of pushback from the community saying, again, in maybe not the best chosen words, but there's a bunch of pushback from the community saying, hey, hold on, let's take a second here and take a breath. And then the stake pool operators, by and large, have not been upgrading. And they have been, while everybody in the Cardano community loves and respects Charles, us stake pool operators also have a huge amount of respect for Andrew Westberg and Adam Dean. These guys are OGs that really, really know the details of running stake pools on Cardano. And so it's really cool to see from a decentralization standpoint, not just the decentralization of stake pools running nodes, but the decentralization of influence. And this is something that Charles has always said he wanted to get to, and it's really cool seeing it happening now. And I think that this whole event was a highlight of that, where you're sort of the figurehead of the blockchain was like, do this thing. And then now these very prominent figures that have come sort of from the trenches of working in it every day in the public, not officially affiliated with IOG, came out and said, hey, let's take a second here. And the community actually listened to the developers or the operators who were saying, let's take a second. So that's kind of cool. So I think that this is the kind of stuff that for me gives me confidence in Cardano. The fact that we are not just decentralized by name, but also by experience and by actions. I think this whole encounter was a great example of that. And then to your point, Oblivious, I think that what has happened is as these kinds of things play out, and on other networks, these things don't play out this way, and you see these like crashes or like hard stops or whatever else, people are going to start looking to see, well, what other layer 1 big names can provide these services, and I think that they'll just sort of start gravitating to Cardano anyway. Okay, pseudonym. What technical hardware and time commitment is required? Knowledge, hardware, and time commitment is required to become a stake pool operator. These days, it's gotten pretty straightforward. If you have knowledge of the command line and of running and maintaining a server, it is pretty straightforward to be a stake pool operator with a lot of the really good tools that are now out there. One of them being the guild tools that Andrew Westberg and some of these other guys work on. The running of a stake pool is really not that hard, but there are 2 caveats to that. One, you need to know a good amount about server security, and you want to research on server security best practices, how to firewall and secure your server, how to be secure and diligent about managing and maintaining your keys, your private keys for your wallets that contain your pledge, and for your cold keys for your server. But then the other piece is that then the harder part actually is then how do you source delegators, right? Like how do you get delegators to join your pool? And different people have different approaches. So for example, like with pool.pm that we showed at the beginning of the stream, Smogpool puts on pool.pm. Then of course my face is right in front of it. Let me do this. Here we go. There. So Smogpool puts together and runs pool.pm. And so their whole thing is, okay, we have this site, helps a lot of people. If you find value in that, delegate to our pool. Ada Pools and Pool Tool similarly, I don't think you can see it, but down at the bottom here, it says Pool Tool is brought to you by Love and Pega. They're the ones who run that. So different people do different kinds of things to contribute. And then if delegators find that to be useful, then they can sort of return the favor by delegating to that pool. So for us, for example, our whole thing is, okay, we put out a lot of educational content on Cardano, and actually, no, I guess is a good time where I can do this. Let's see here. There. So, for us, for example, we try and put out a lot of educational Cardano content to help people get up to speed. And if you find that useful, then we would appreciate your delegation to the pool. So the content itself is not that bad. Developers are Cardano.org. So this is here. I'll share this with you. Pseudonym. This is like on the Cardano docs website. So there's that. But yeah, so that is how you can be a stake pool operator. Okay, Elliott Wave stuff. Yeah, I mean, I really don't like to talk about price stuff on the channel. I'm in it for the long haul. I think that we bring the value first and we solve real problems first, and then I think that the price appreciation will come. But I'm really excited about Cardano as a project solving problems, and then we'll go from there. Okay, what happens to the stakers and the stake pools that prematurely upgraded the testnet code last week? Not necessarily anything. The whole idea of the caution that folks were asking for is just to make sure that everything's okay. But to Charles's point, the 135 node and specifically 135.3 have been extensively tested. So let's be clear that we're not talking about at all a move fast and break things kind of chain. This is still the slow and deliberate Cardano that we know and love. It's just that the developers are asking for some more time to test it. So most likely, the folks who have already upgraded to 135.3 on their nodes, most likely they are completely fine. It's just out of an abundance of caution that the developers were asking for some more time to test that, just to be sure. Oh yeah, sweet. So Daniel, best time to go to Iceland is, here we go, is in the summer. But if you don't mind the cold, winter is great for viewing the Northern Lights. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, good call. I saw the Northern Lights in Alaska. It was really pretty. Who's who for Cardano music? Yeah, that'd be awesome. I would appreciate that. Feel free, you can either join us in Telegram. Let me actually share that, by the way. If any of you guys want to join us and chat on a more regular basis, let me share our Telegram group. If this will cooperate with me here. Let's see. There we go. Info. Okay, so here's our Telegram group if anybody wants to join us in there. Cool. So Gary, either let me know in a comment or in our Telegram group as you find more of these audio projects. I'm really curious to hear more about them. Nix. Oh yeah, no problem. Yeah, glad to help. I mean, the Vasel stuff is really, really cool. And I think that it's important for folks to understand what are actually some of the benefits that are coming that are getting people excited. And then from there, that's where we'll all be able to see these really new exciting dApps coming out as developers actually kind of do the thing. Favorite show from Cartoon Network. I like the old school Cartoon Network stuff. I was a really big fan of Space Ghost Coast to Coast back in the day, which I guess is kind of what eventually led into Adult Swim and all of that. But yeah, that was my favorite. Sweet. Welcome to the community. Joe, glad to have you. Okay. Okay, great question. What are the risks on investing and putting your ADA on someone's unreliable ADA pool? Okay, so real quick here, we're probably gonna go for around another 5 minutes of questions, and then what we're gonna do is we will give away a copy of Dracula by Bram Stoker on Book Tokens platform. So let us know any other questions that you have. We'll go through a few more. Let us know where you're joining from and say hello as you join, and then we'll do the book token giveaway. By the way, if you want to be part of the giveaway, do me a favor just to make this easier. Go ahead and join the Telegram group link that I just dropped in here. And what we'll do is we'll do that part of the giveaway through Telegram, so that way you can just send me your address and I can send you your ebook. So for example, if I come, here's what we'll do. I'm gonna grab the exact one that we're gonna give away. Let me come to my, hold on a second here. Let me do this. Let me do that. Okay, so we come to the token list here. Let's say we will do, let's give this a second to load up. Let's say we'll do this one. We'll give away this Dracula book token book. Dracula number 1387 we'll give away. So let us know some other questions that you have, and then here in a few minutes we'll do this giveaway. Make sure to join the Telegram group, and then we'll do it from there. Okay, so risks on investing in an unreliable stake pool. This is actually a pretty straightforward one. Remember that for staking, there is no minimum to stake, there is no lockdown period, and the funds never leave your wallet, ever. You should never, ever have to send your funds to anybody, and if anybody's ever asking you to either send funds or share a recovery phrase, it's definitely a scam. So, yeah. So with that in mind, since the funds never leave your wallet and you're just delegating them, the only real risk you have as a delegator, if it's a pool that's an unreliable pool, is that you can potentially have the opportunity cost of missing blocks if your pool operator doesn't know what they're doing. So for example, slot battles and hype battles are a normal part of the protocol where, without going into too much detail, you can have that a pool did create a block, but because of the normal operations of the network, it doesn't get accepted by the network, and so it just doesn't count. But that aside, if there's some downtime on the pool, or the person's pool is not properly configured, or whatever else, if then that person would have gotten blocks assigned, but either didn't mint them or didn't properly propagate them to the network, then they won't get any rewards for those blocks, and you as a delegator wouldn't get any rewards either. So your only real risk is just that you would get less rewards than you should if the pool is not operating properly, and then worst case, you can always redelegate to another pool. So it's just the opportunity cost of you could have gotten more in that epic or those epics, and then you could always delegate somewhere else. Oh, thanks, Nix. I really appreciate that. Cool. Pseudonym, glad that helped. What are some of the Catalyst Fun 9 projects? So I don't have anything in Catalyst right now, and I have actually, admittedly, not been following Catalyst as closely as I should be. I really should be digging in more than I have been these days. And Freddie is viewing from Canada. Okay, cool. Sweet. All right. Well, let's see. I think, let's see here. Let's go through our questions here. Let's do any last questions we'll go through, and then we will do our giveaway. Okay. All right, how about this? Here's what we'll do for our giveaway. Any other questions here? Okay, cool. So here's what we'll do for our giveaway. I'm glad that folks right off the bat were asking about this Vasel thing. So let's do this. So here was Nix asking what happened with the testnet and why Cardano is not broken, because it is not, and it's still running very well. And then Pseudonym was asking, not a dev, but isn't the purpose of the testnet to test? Why is everybody freaking out? Let's do a tied one for that. Let's do, we'll send, we'll give one of you Dracula and one of you Frankenstein. So Nix and Pseudonym, make sure that you join the Telegram group that I have linked here. We'll do that one more time just in case. Join the Telegram group. Send me a message on Telegram with your address, and I will get you your copy of Dracula and Frankenstein. So congrats to Pseudonym and Nix. Thank you guys for playing along. That was really fun. Any last questions before we go? I'm watching House of Dragons tonight. I am not. I'm kind of like, I never watched Game of Thrones. Isn't House of Dragons like the prequel, I think it is? I'm not sure, but I never watched it, and then it's kind of like, I heard it didn't end well, so I just lost interest. Okay. I think we will call it there. This has been great. This was fun. We'll definitely have to do some of these live streams more often. Thank you for the good questions. Thank you for everybody coming and being engaged here. This is a really good conversation. We'll need to do this more often. I think what I might do is on weeks where there isn't any necessarily huge news or there's not like a good tutorial to put out, I might just do a live stream instead. I mean, granted, this week there was, or maybe I'll do the opposite. When there is big news that we want to make sure to talk about as a community that is just not as well captured in an edited video, we'll do a live stream. So, cool. Thanks everybody for coming out. Pseudonym and Nix, send me a message on Telegram and I will get you your copies of Dracula and Frankenstein. Oh yeah, and then so with that, right, like, as we're ending, I will say, everybody should come and check out booktoken.io. We have a video that digs into detail about BookToken. They are probably one of my favorite projects right now. Let me grab a copy of that. So here's the BookToken video. I really think check out BookToken. So here's the BookToken link. You guys should check that out. Okay, sweet. Awesome. All right, great. Thanks, guys. Check out BookToken. They're an awesome project. Let us know if you have any questions in the comments below. For those of you watching afterwards, we'll do this again sometime soon. But I think we'll probably leave it there. You guys, I will send you your book tokens for your good questions, but you got to make sure to reach out to me. Otherwise, I'm just going to have a couple extra copies of Dracula and Frankenstein, but happy to share it. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your weekend. Yeah, and if nothing else, we'll see you next week.